It's interesting to have this panelist. Allow me to introduce Hussam Al-Huzaimi, CEO, Evolve Hospitality. Please have a seat. Matthew Ramos, CEO, Food West Holding. Matthew, please.
Thank you.
We have Raed Al-Kubaisi, Senior Vice President, Real Estate Investment, Awqaf. Please have the mics.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Rajat, you arrived. Please. Thank you very much. So our topic, navigating economic fluctuation in Saudi hospitality investment. Let me start with Hussam about what is the impact of economic fluctuation on these ongoing investments, especially in KSA, hospitality investments.
Thank you very much. It's a great pleasure attending this panel today. I believe today we're waiting for some good news about interest rates.
Going down.
Tonight, there is an announcement of the interest
3
rate.
hours.
3 hours from now.
Watching the
So
clock.
that's a big ticket. Another ticket is, as we see that hospitality development in the past years was normally funded from banks, and this is where you go first. You go to a bank, you get that fund. But right now we're seeing investment funds where they can mitigate that risk. With investment funds, you could bring your land in kind, and you get 62 ownership as easy as that, if that land is in a prime location. And you could mitigate that risk with investment funds as a second option. Third option is we have private equities, and the financial system in Saudi Arabia is developing very rapidly with this boom of investment in hospitality. Yes.
Please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Hello.
Masaakum Allah bil khair. Hi everyone.
I still not on yet. Maybe you wanna. Yes.
Assalamu alaikum. Masaakum Allah bil khair jami'an. Hi everyone. It's my pleasure to be in this panel with my estimate colleagues. First of all, what Hussam mentioned about how to mitigate the risk in terms of financing, and how others would see different structure to find the optimal financing. So there are different ways, as he mentioned, about the going in kind into like real estate private equity funds, or also if the land is like on a leasehold, that you could go into a structuring with a long-term lease with a different partner, so that would reduce the huge capital, the huge capital needed for the development. So that would benefit both partners.
What options do we have for long-term leasing? 25 years, 49 years?
Yeah.
What is the market offering right now?
See, what's been offering, I would say, about like central Mecca and Medina, since it's housed the 2030 vision in terms of creating a huge supply for the hospitality in Mecca and Medina for the number of pilgrims that the vision is objecting. So I would say it started from like 30 years, you would say, to 40 years. That's including the grace period that they would take. Development in Mecca is different than in Medina. Mecca, the nature of the land is challenging to develop such a project. While in Medina, you could somehow manage to develop in a faster way than Mecca.
Now with the 100,000 keys or 80 to 100,000 keys coming to Medina, isn't it is going to come closer to what Mecca is today?
See, when it comes, we see now like Mecca, I would say the main projects that everyone is just looking forward to it is the Masar project, or how much supply it would offer to the hospitality market in Mecca. You would look into as we know, as we speak now, you know that the infrastructure of the Masar project almost completed. So that means we're going to see coming supply to the market already now, maybe probably 7-8 towers. That's already in construction now. So we expect supply in terms of the hotel rooms and also either branded resident keys or serviced apartments. And that's also, I see when it comes, how the market absorption for the number of keys, that's why Masar is developing into different phases. So to be aligned with the market, and we're going to see what's going to bring the next year. We see the numbers of pilgrims, mashallah, now it's becoming more and more, which is good for the hospitality market in Mecca and Medina in terms of ADRs growth. And
I want to echo what Mr. Kubaisi said. You know very well that Medina right now, it's on a skyrocket occupancy rate.
Yes, it's one of the highest ADRs and occupancy in the entire Middle East. And globally too.
Yes.
It has the highest RevPAR. It
Maybe
has taken over the RevPAR from Dubai, as a matter of fact, into last year.
Maybe it's, I think, 82%, something like this.
Which is unheard of. Year-round 82% occupancy, you will not see anywhere else in the world.
Exactly. So that's no risk in Medina.
Yes. But that's why I was saying now there's a momentum shifting towards Medina too, and the land cost and the development cost overall is going to touch the similar level in the coming years where Makkah is today. That was...
So basically, when it comes, you know, the challenge in Mecca, it's the cost of the land. When you look into the per square meter and how to manage, because you know the capital that's needed to purchase the land or to acquire the land is very high. So to find the optimal structure in terms of returns, it's a bit challenging. And for developers, the know-how in Mecca, it's very limited to some developers. So you need to look into this as well.
Matthew, so many mega giga projects going on and mostly funded with the internal resources. You think the funding from the sovereign wealth funds or international investors, it will come into picture sooner or later?
Good question. Good afternoon, everybody. Pleasure to be here. My firm, actually, we represent foreign investors, GCC-based investors, Kuwait, Omani, UAE, and Bahraini. And we are actually entering the market this year. We're acquiring the Caribou Coffee brand. We're mainly in F&B and hotel F&B support. I've never found it easier to find capital than for any other country than KSA. As the government has been on pace with the Vision 3030, the certainty of hitting these landmarks, these milestones on the progress of development has made it so that investors are just willing to put in their own capital and forego the high interest rate environment that we're in right now. With SIBOR around 6.2 right now where it is, bank financing typically is just too risky for most external investors trying to get into the market. So I've had no problem raising capital at a reasonable cost. It's been a good environment for me.
So you are able to bring the foreign investors?
Yes. Yeah, like I said, the enthusiasm for foreign investment right now is off the charts because of the certainty of the progress. The Vision 2030, it's on pace. It's giving investors significant confidence there's going to be continual fiscal stimulus into the environment that's going to give a fairly high probability of, mid-20s to higher returns on their capital, and therefore raising capital and the actual cost of raising that capital has been diminutive compared to other markets within the region.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Sam, in this regional tension which is going on, what is an impact on the ongoing projects? You think it is disturbing the progress of the investment, or do you think it's just going at its pace?
I believe not. We're in incredible times in investing in hospitality and hotels. We got the government supporting with enablers. There were enablers been announced to support the hospitality and hotel industry, where there is a grace period of taxes, and this was like 2 months was announced. But excluding Riyadh, And these enablers will help to boost secondary cities for hotel development. The second thing is, if you go back to the stats and numbers, how many key rooms in Riyadh? 23,000, something around that?
Around 20, yes, 22,000.
23,000.
Yes.
How much is in Abu Dhabi?
It's 30 plus.
45,000.
Yes.
How much in Doha? 45,000. So the gap is huge. There's no risk in it in developing hospitality at the moment, especially in that golden ratio of Riyadh, which is the north and east part of it.
And especially now, in order to host Expo 2030, city needs minimum 120, 125,000 rooms. And from what you just mentioned, from 23 to 125,000, it's only we are missing over 100,000 rooms. And these are guaranteed because the government has signed with Expo to have 42 million people visiting the city during that period. So to build the city and to enable to and be enabled to handle 100,000+ people rooms capacity over the coming years. So this is, I think, is a great opportunity.
Exactly, yes. And you can see from time to time investors at the moment that we want to invest in hospitality, we want to invest in hotels, but the route of hospitality hotels has to go with the right partners, and I call it synergy. If you have the right designer, the right contractor, the right developer, the right funder, that is that synergy. If you get with the right team, you will develop the best hospitality asset in the coming 3 or 4 or 5 years.
Right, do you think we have an attractive enough incentives for the foreign investors in this market?
Yeah.
Apart, yes, the returns are good. That's blessing on the region. But from the government side, from the policy makers, do we have enough attractive? It will be for both of you, so let him go first to Ryan. So do we have enough attractive policies, incentives to have those bigger player when you have?
Yeah.
So many mega projects going on, you need those bigger investors to come in the picture and play their role, and they are looking for incentives.
Yeah. See, I think this is very important factor to have some incentives to encourage foreign investors to come to the market. As we know, for the office sector, how the incentives to open your HQ in Riyadh, the incentives that the government made. When it comes to the hospitality, we see the recent incentives made to the SMEs for the tourism. So I think, from my point of view of myself, I would think more incentives that needed to attract more foreigner investors.
Matthew, your viewpoint?
Well, I mean, that can always be better. As an investor, of course, I would always love another incentive, so please hand them out. But the TDF is doing, from what I understand, fairly well in greasing the wheels and getting things done. Remember, as an investor, the greatest incentive is time in a lot of ways. The time to develop your project, the time to get it open, the time to get revenue, and the ROI, of course, the time to get your payback. So if the government can continue to speed up the processes, and we've seen a lot of advancement in that regard from the government e-services portals that makes things, get done a lot quicker. You don't have to go through the old style of the PRO, having to go into the ministry and doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
All those things save time. And when you can do things at a much rapid pace, you can actually anticipate getting return on your investment at a much rapid pace.
Have you seen any improvement in that pace?
Oh yeah.
Shorten up the process?
Yeah. Doing business I was actually doing business here in Riyadh back in 2015 and 2016. It was the wild, wild west from a regulatory standpoint. Nowadays, you just go online and you can just get, it just all depended on who you know and if they got up that afternoon, so
it's improving.
Oh, it's improved massively. It's improved massively, particularly the e-services that are making, actually doing things, from an online standpoint, and saving you that time. The second advantage, like I said, is just continually investing on the mega projects, the giga projects, and keeping that cash flow going. That level of sustainable fiscal stimulus into the economy is what really assures the investor that there is a substantial chance to either meet or exceed their expected return during the investment horizon. And I mean, that's the biggest advantage you can have. The advantage, I've said that already, but the difference between KSA and a lot of other emerging economies is they have change in governments, change in political environments, change in their currency structures that cause economic ripples, ups and downs. In KSA, so far, since the adoption of Vision 2030, you've had a very stable path. Be it there's speed bumps, but when you have a very stable and predictable path of fiscal investment into the economy, as an investor, you can be very, very satisfied. They have a really good chance of getting your money back.
Sorry, just quick to build on what you just said, how important it is what you just mentioned. So the government is playing its role in setting the fundamental infrastructure. You take an example of a Red Sea, where the initial investment on an infrastructure is an airport, is an airline, is it the roads, is done by the government. So their skin is there in the projects. So when the investors see the government is already there, and the initial projects are from them as well, now it gives a confidence to the investor, especially regional and global, that yes, government has put the efforts, now it's our term, let's start putting some efforts and money into it. So it does encourage when everywhere government is taking initiative to start the fundamentals. Please.
Also, I want to echo what Matthew and Mr. Turaba just mentioned. The Ministry of Tourism, when they announced the hospitality incentive program, it had 5 incentive types: corporate income tax credits, and municipality grace period, and a tax reduction of the room tax, and a land lease, and a capex support. So this is also boosting the economy, boosting the industry, and we are in great times at the moment.
I give you an example of Red Sea. Initially, we reached out to investors to come to the Red Sea, and everybody said, no, why should we go? Who else is there first? Now, everybody's asking, why can't we go there? Because the government has put everything which was required in order to initiate the project. Now, everybody is after Red Sea that we want to go invest. It's all the regional players, all the local players, and international, they're coming and they're looking for how can we be part of Al-Ula, how can we be part of Red Sea, because government took initiative to set the fundamentals, put their own initial projects, gave it a marketability globally. If you go today from US to Germany to UK, all the big tourism exhibition, these are the projects which are highlighted there, which gave a confidence to private investor, regional and global investor, now to start investing into these areas. You will be penalized, Rajat. You have to buy coffee to everybody. You're late. And we're going to ask a difficult question from you now.
So, no, first of all, apologies. This was my first taste of Riyadh traffic. I was stuck for more than 1.5 hours.
It's just smooth, man. See, we were 1 hour before the event. We are here.
My sincere apologies.
So maybe we direct next question to him.
I'll leave the hard questions for you.
So in this environment...
So allow me, just want to add one thing about...
Please.
Once you mentioned about how it's improving from 2016, it's not just... It's all we see the transformation that's in the kingdom. So you see all the passion that our crown prince that is having. So this passion that he has, encouraging everybody, we see a great and a hope for the future. So that's also some kind of trust for the foreigner investor. So I just want to point out on this. Yeah.
Rajat, in this environment, what are the safer products? I mean, the market is booming, especially Saudi market. What are the products that you say, yes, I will prefer to invest in these areas? Is this a mixed use within the hospitality sector? Is this the wellness element which needs to be added in it? Is it a conference facility to be added to the... What are the products that you think will do well in this environment?
So, to be honest, this is a question more to operators and people more familiar with the market. What we as World Bank and IFC invest in has two criteria. So one is, of course, the financial viability of these projects, but we also look at the development aspect of the projects, like how many jobs that would create, or how that would benefit the local communities, and how many dollars would that get into the country, which is less of a topic for a market like Saudi, right? And this is my
engaging the local community is one of the criteria while you are preparing your funding requirements.
Yes. So we look at both these aspects. So I mean, and this is again my individual opinion. Business hotels, of course, I mean, in Saudi, that's a given, right? I mean, with the way business is booming and business travel will remain, I think there is still a dire need of upscale to upper upscale business hotels just to keep the regular people going and everyone. Mixed use, of course, helps. I mean, adding a bit of retail or adding residential. I would say branded residences is something which is, again, it is very, very market specific, but I wouldn't say that's a general norm that these do well. So I think the country, Saudi is going through a transformation, and there is a need for every segment, I would say. And at the national level, having that balance between all these segments would be important. From a financier's perspective and an investor perspective, we of course like working with portfolio groups who have exposure to both business and resorts across multiple locations, because that gives us diversification instead of single asset owners, due to obvious reasons, right? I mean, diversification is one, but there's also capabilities that companies develop if they manage portfolios against single assets. So I'm not answering your question directly because
No, it's fine, and it's good that you shared your...
As World Bank, we're not financing projects in Saudi at the moment because it's a high-income country, right? So we're supposed to be working with Saudi groups going to emerging markets. So that's more of our mandate right now.
Gentlemen, you just mentioned the branded residence. Hot subject today for this. If you look at the statistics, Saudis are one of the biggest user of branded residence. If you go to UK, if you go to UAE, if you go elsewhere, they are the biggest user and utilizer of this product. But when you come back home, you don't have none of that product, which is, so Matthew, your thoughts on it? What is the potential of investing in branded residential market?
Let me put it in kind of perspective. When you look at the Saudi consumer, the average enjoyer of the leisure lifestyle, the average traveler to the UAE, they're probably one of the most aspirational consumer profiles that you're going to see. And that's probably because of the change in the culture and many years of not being able to enjoy that level of culture. Kind of like similar to like the COVID effect, when you couldn't travel for a long time, then all of a sudden everyone wanted to travel. Where when you weren't exposed to that type of lifestyle for a long time, and suddenly you had access to it, I see you just have a large level of demand for it, and you see it in our F&B projects that the consumer has probably, I haven't really seen any economic studies on it, but what we call the marginal propensity to spend on leisure in this consumer base is probably the highest out of any market there is. And it's probably at a very high delta right now because of the cultural factors that I mentioned earlier. So of course there's going to be a high demand for it. This is a consumer base that really likes to enjoy the fruits of life. They do it often and as much as they can, and if they can get into a branded residence or a branded hotel, I see that to be the priority for this consumer.
Right.
Yeah, just for the branded residence part, as you mentioned, that when we see like international, the appetite for Saudis to have a branded resi abroad is high. Let's now focus on the branded resi, which there was a report issued a few months ago by Knight Frank, which is the destination, which it was a very good report that analyzing how would be the appetite for a second home in Mecca and Medina, and how is this going to be? This is of course depending on the regulation of the foreigner investors in Mecca and Medina, which we started to see the first phase of it through investing through listed companies. Foreigners can buy shares in stock companies that they have real estate in Mecca, Medina, and we see it coming soon. This what we could see, which we know that there are many high ultra net worth individuals around the Islamic world who would have an appetite for the branded resi. In Riyadh, we see some like the Ramla, I think the Fairmont one with that has been sold very fast. So there is an appetite, but still, there is no like it's not you cannot have a benchmark for the branded resi in Riyadh. Such if you
It's
compare
very
it to
new.
Dubai.
It's very new. You don't have much in the city to compare. You're
Yeah,
right.
so
You're absolutely right.
it's very challenging to price it as well for developers. So we had a case for Jabal Umar in Mecca. They struggled to sell the branded resi, so they needed to convert to the hotel. So
Thank you. Now switching the topic, coming back to interest rates, Hussam, which way we are going? Are they coming down? Is it a good news? We're going to have interest rate going down?
I think we have 3 hours, right, to get the news.
9 p.m. Eastern time, so
So let's be optimistic and say it's going to be 0.50, not 0.25.
Going down.
Going down, yes.
Okay. And you see further cut by the remaining part of the year?
Nobody can predict this, but inflation is going down, this is for sure. And
There are two good news in one go.
yes.
Oh my God, that's good.
And 0.25, it happens today. That's a new cake for business. And I believe that with the right funding structure, with the right partnership, and I cannot emphasize more on the syndicate team you have, which is the right contractor, the right fund investment, the right bank, the right designer. If we have this from the beginning, and this will save a lot of money, save a lot of cost, with a good value engineering contractor. I believe through the years, you will have a very higher IRR. If you are also invest in ESG, some investors see that ESG is not preferable, it's too much of a cost. But trust me, in the long run,
It will benefit.
it will show in your bottom line. It will show in your bottom
It
line.
will have an impact on your P&L, bottom
Exactly,
line.
yes.
The sustainability, whatever you're investing today, tomorrow
Yes.
it will reflect.
I agree, yeah.
Matthews, your views?
I echo your profound statement about the unpredictability of the FOMC. We are also expecting, a 0.25 to 0.50 rate cut today, and the outlook for the rest of the year is supposed to be a total of 1.25%. I don't think we're ever going to get back, barring another significant recession or geopolitical shock, where we get down into the ones and the 1.5s or sub-1 Fed funds rate. So look for a terminal Fed funds rate between 3.5 and 4.0, which is going to lower your current financing rates and your SIBOR to around 4, which is, it's a move, but it's not such a significant move where you're going to run out and try to get this, 1%, 2% Fed funds rate bank financing. So I'm happy to see that there's increasing and a hungry appetite from equity investors across the GCC, and a lot of people asking for consulting work from outside the GCC about how to get into KSA and how to do business here. So a combination of bank financing and equity investments is probably the best way to go forward. And I'm very positive that the cost of capital is going to continue to decrease, and the appetite for investment in the kingdom is going to continue to increase.
Thank you. Rajat, the overall, how do you see from policy making point of view, how are the investment, financial strategies are attracting the global players to KSA? Are they lucrative enough? If not, then what are the areas that we need to fine tune?
See, again, it's a long curve. The last time I had visited Saudi was in 2019, and this is my visit after. And you can already see it's transformed a lot, and it's far more financially driven than politically driven, right? I mean, like you had mentioned just before this, that now global players are really looking to Saudi as a core financial opportunity and not only something which they have to do. So supply is of course one of the key aspects which financiers would look at, because most of the investors in hospitality are long-term investors, right? They at least look at a holding period of, in this part of the world, at least 10 years plus, right? So supply becomes, and long-term supply situation becomes a critical factor that they look at. Then, of course, positioning is supply at what category, right? So if there are categories which are still attractive and where the supply is not being is not expected to be at the same scale, then that stays. ADRs, of course, at this point of time,
You have the highest supply ever in the region at this given time in the pipeline. So what impact it has for the... So it's the highest ever. You have 500,000 keys in the pipeline in the region. Saudi 325, another 175,000 from rest of the region. So you have 500,000 keys, only purely hospitality-driven projects in the pipeline in this given window that we have. So what do you think is attractive enough for international investor?
Again, now I'm talking as World Bank, we don't invest directly in Saudi. So I would rather read Knight Frank's report and have a view on that. But we all know the answer, right? It has to be phased in a manner, it has to be sort of split across multiple segments to be attractive. I think still, like I'd mentioned, right, some segments are very, very attractive. I was trying to book a hotel. Radisson is doing $600. So, it's...
My God, that's a rip-off.
It's insane, right? So, it answers itself, right?
Yeah.
It is very attractive. I wouldn't say urban hotels and generally hotels are quite attractive as a space. What would require some policy support, which is more from a national development agenda, right? Even, so I'm based in Dubai. Dubai also did a lot of projects which were for the nation, the greater good, right? You have to position Saudi and specific destinations, and they are done through some specific projects which may not make that much money, but they're still very, very important to drive in tourism for the long.
Yeah. Can you specify more? So I want to hear from you, like, what's stopping you not to go into this market as of today?
No, so R is more from a development bank institute because Saudi is a high income country. World Bank is supposed to work with low income and middle income, up to lower middle. So it has nothing to do with financial side. It's more from the development side. Our mandate is more to work with GCC funds investing in Africa, GCC funds going to Central Asia or Asian markets. So it's more about that.
Very clear, yeah.
But having said that, these are all my personal views, right? That I think Saudi has a very, very attractive opportunity. It's just about focusing on the right segments and locations, and of course pricing. So I think fundamentals don't change for Saudi. The fundamentals still remain. The playbook for investors is still the same.
Great. Hussam, in which area use in a short-term investors? I meet a lot of investors. They have land, they know what they want to build, but they don't know how to structure the funding issue, how to structure it. Not many people, 90% of the people I meet, they know what they want to go there. They know they have a land, or they have certain resources.
Yes.
They don't know how to put the structure together. This is a very common issue that I see in especially in Saudi. UAE has learned over the year. Now they know how to put it together. Your thoughts on that? What is the solution for those guys? They are driven, they want to invest, but still they have questions how to put it together.
It's a business culture. An investor who owns a prime plot of land thinks he knows everything. He believes that he can build a hotel, and it's just similar like building housing.
As I did my house previously.
Exactly, I did my house and it was a palace, and it is not that easy, and I have my own operation. But the thing is, at the moment they're realizing that they need to know that there are professionals for like designers. They're professional designers, interior designers, subcontractors for electromechanical, and also there are consultants for consulting the right concept, the right fit out of your land with your demography. Some markets are underserved, so there is hotels easy to work there. But what happens if you build your development on a high served area? So what is the answer? Is it another hotel, copy and paste from the shelf? No, we come here as consultants, all of us went into the market, say, this place is a high service area, so the right product for it is a branded residence, for example. But he's not aware of this. He thinks that it's just out of the shelf, get a 4-star hotel, put it here, and it will work. Sometimes it doesn't work, even if you're in a prime location. That's where we have the right consultancy, the right study, the right research, the right branding, and it goes on until you get that syndicate of team. That's how I see it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Right, you
just
want to add something?
For this, we see how many real estate owners have moved into financial institutions. We see the growth of AUMs in the real estate funds. And we have seen many institutions just get established in the last 2-3 years. So this is one of the things that enhanced the financing for the real estate developers. And now we have a new regulation that you didn't need to go to the financial institution. You can get alliances as a developer to have the capital raising from different investors. So these allowing you to look into different financing options. For like landowners that are having some issues also with the financing, they could go with the bank with the long-term financing. So that's if like would say the cash flow not supporting, so you could negotiate with the banks for a longer period. So that would also look reasonable for the returns to make a very good deal out of it for everyone.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you, gentlemen. We are out of time. We have 2 more minutes. Question from the audience towards our amazing panelists, please. Anybody has a project, needs funding, how to do funding, how to execute it? We have the specialists.
You got fake consultancies.
We have funding coming from IMF to I tell you here, to OCAF funds. Any questions?
I have a question to Rajat. This is for being late. What are some of the, financing projects with IFC is a pain and a blessing at the same time, right? And I'm sure everybody on the panel for sure knows why I say this. What has been, I know you've probably been in the role for about 1.5 years or so? Yeah. So what are some of the kind of first-hand unique challenges with finding the projects to finance through IFC and World Bank that you have seen in this region or in KSA specifically?
So like I'd mentioned, we are not looking at financing projects in KSA, but we can work with sponsors and companies based in KSA but investing outside. So one example being Kasada, which was a Qatar and Accor JV, and they were buying and sort of building hotels across Africa. So those kind of projects we can look at. But more generically, if I speak more specific, like broadly in the region, we can look at projects in Oman, for example. So I won't be able to.
You are not answering my question.
I'm not.
What are some of the unique challenges in the region that you see for finding projects?
Okay.
Usam, you want to help out? Matthew, you want to, on this question? Maybe Matthew, and maybe let's him.
So what is the largest difficulty for getting projects started? To tell you the truth, it's not very hard. I mean, like I was part of the theme of what I've been saying is there maybe what would be looked at later as an overabundance right now in this field, in hospitality overall. There may be too many keys coming down the line. So that's 5 years, 10 years out. We'll see if that's the case. Maybe after 2030. But right now, when everyone has to kind of think, well, I don't see any problems. That could be a sign that there's going to be some problems on the horizon, and maybe the overabundance and of eagerness to get into the market could be an issue later on.
Yeah, because to me, as a consultant, to hear investors saying we don't need to de-risk hotels, that is something very, very unique and very alarming.
So just to add into it, some of the few challenges.
We don't need to de-risk hotels?
Yeah, that's what they've been saying before you got here.
Okay.
They're very comfortable that everything will be dandy.
Yeah.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, again, supply situation is an issue. Construction costs, of course, are...
Tendering, you mean? Tendering costs is going high.
Yeah, exactly. So costs...
This is just in 1.5 years, 22% increase in overall development costs. In just less than 18, 20 months, this cost has escalated to new heights. But then on the other way, you can see he just paid $600 for a 3-star hotel. So
I didn't pay. I did not pay.
Even we are, but I mean, in Jeddah, it's not like that at all.
also the overall the ADRs, the revenues are gone to new height, and the cost is escalating, which is an issue presently.
Yeah, so the concern here is, where is the end of this bubble, right? Because it seems like it's boiling up a bubble.
It is.
What's the danger?
areas they won't stay. I mean, we've seen these cycles in other markets, right? They don't stay. Currently, there's a flush of people coming in, traveling, coming in for the entire week, going back to Dubai, and just but supply will catch up at some point, right? And again, like, these are long-term assets. They'll take 3 to 4 years to plan and develop, and then a ramp-up period. By the time, we don't know what that supply. I mean, I think you guys are best placed to sort of advise us on what that supply curve looks like.
If I get your question right, it's about the risk of investing in hotels and hospitality overall. Is that something about that? I never heard hotels are risky business. They're under the real estate. Show me a real estate project that went bankrupt. Right? They're on the real estate. So the risk is very low, but the challenge is through the whole 12 years, 15 years cycle of returning and amortization of these things, and the interest rates going up and down. Construction is an issue, but everything has an answer. For construction rates are high, there is an answer for it. Prefab. So prefabrication in its own original place, you bring it, it comes in, reduces manpower, reduces also specialists, and everything has a solution. And we are in a great time for the right technology, the right development, the right design. We're having softwares in this generation to design, which is BIM, I believe, that gives you an exactly accurate how you want to invest. So we're in good times. I'm very optimistic.
Absolutely.
Thank you
I just
very
wanted
much.
to throw a challenging question at you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.